Good morning, everybody. That time of the week again where we sit down with a very special guest for the RDA Central West Business Leaders Breakfast. And this morning we're down in Cowra and I'm catching up with Miss Ruth Fagan. Ruth, welcome to breakfast.
Thanks very much, Sam.
Yeah, fantastic to have you here. Ruth, you are quite a prominent local here in Cowra. You're a local councillor, but you're also the chair of RDA Central West. For those that don't know you, I guess, or your journey, can you tell us a little bit about your connection to Cowra and your involvement in the local community?
Sure. Look, David and I, my husband, and I have been here for 40 years this year, so it's very good part of our lives and we love it. Very connected to Cowra. We came back here from, lived a year in Port Macquarie after we got married, and we grew up around the district. We were in Lyndhurst and Blaney. We grew up, childhood sweethearts, I guess we could call us. So we've been here all our married life. And it's great. We love our community and we're really invested heavily in all the organisations and groups, and hopefully helpful to a lot to make Cowra a better place.
Yeah, absolutely. We might touch on some of those professional journey businesses that you've run a little bit later. But I guess if you've been in Cowra for the last 40 years, what are some of the things that you've noticed have changed the most in and around Cowra during that period?
Well, it's mostly just the well, of course, just the development in the town and the industries that have come here. You know, many people say you don't make things anymore. Well, Cowra actually has quite a good manufacturing base. We employ a lot of people in manufacturing. The perception that there's no manufacturing anymore is pretty well, not happening here. We have lots of businesses and industry here that make things, and that's a very good part of what we do. You know, we had a bit of a tough time when the the wool top making plant closed down. We had a bit of when Edgel's closed down. The abattoir had a bit of a tough time, but all of those industries have been taken over or taken up, but with other industries that are much more technologically based, and that's the way of the world. So we're really lucky that we have a diverse range of employment opportunities and jobs in industry in Cowra, which I think is probably the biggest growth. The other thing is that agriculture has changed, and we've got a very good agricultural base here, and we grow really interesting things and crops that are probably people aren't aware of. We grow lots of carrots, lots of corn, lots of spinach and beetroot and all of those things here, and they're broad acre farmers. So the farmers market is not exactly our market. It's the crops out here are grown and they go out in trucks. They go out in the middle of the night, so no one actually sees them. They're grown out behind the general roads, the big roads here. So we grow a lot of vegetables and crops here that people never ever see, and people are unaware of that as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Definitely punch above your weight in Cowra. Some of those products, as you said, well known across New South Wales and Australia, like Cowra lamb. Some of those producers that you've got here are well known. Ruth, you've had a diverse professional journey in your own right. You've run a number of small businesses during that period. And this morning we're at Rain and Horn, which is the real estate business that you run with your husband, David. But I guess as a small business owner, what's one of the key attributes that you've drawn on to be successful during your professional career?
So my really big tip is to actually people enjoy the experience, to walk into a shop. I had a dress shop, walk into the shop, enjoy the experience, to get really good service, it's really fast attention, and a really good follow-up if you can't actually do what you want them to do. So it's about having a terrific experience in a shop. Sometimes you can actually don't need to sell anything to anybody. You don't need, but if they can go out and say, we've had a really good time, we've enjoyed meeting you, we've enjoyed having that interaction with you. That's what it's about. You don't need to sell something, or you don't need to have a hard sell, just for people to enjoy the actual interaction and the process.
It's really good advice, and I guess that's what drives that repeat business. And we did some tourism workshops actually here in Cowra a couple of weeks ago, and one of the things that came up in that is everyone's an advocate for your community, because it's can be just interacting with a visitor on the main street, giving them directions, showing them a great place to get a coffee. And I guess that's the same ethos that you took with your business, and it's a good lesson for our listeners and viewers this morning. Another thing that I just wanted to touch on is, as I said, we're at Rain and Horn this morning. your husband, David, and yourself have run this business for the last 12 to 18 months, I believe.
3 years.
3 years, there you go.
3 years.
Needed to do some more research. But I guess in the last 12 months or so, there's been a lot more interest in relocating to the Central West. But how's the property market changed in Cowra and surrounding districts?
So yes, we've had a fantastic 3 years. I mean, we took this over and we've just won Real Estate Agent of the Year in Cowra, which is really exciting.
Congratulations.
Thank you. That was really great. That was the news last week. We've taken it over and things have changed. They really have changed even since we've taken it over. People are coming from all over the place to invest in our town, but also to move here. So the property market in Cowra has been pretty slow and a bit under market for a long time. But the last 12 months, we just got report 7.5% growth in the market in the last 12 months, which is quite substantial. We still haven't got the most expensive places to live in Cowra, but we've got some beautiful places for good value. So, people can retire here and buy a beautiful home for $600,000. So, that's probably the top price for a large block with a really lovely home. But the rental accommodation is still really strong here. We get quite good return, we get very good return on your investment. So, we've had a lot of interest from out of town as well. And a lot of people move here. Can I tell you I'll tell you a story?
Look, I'm in your hands, Ruth. It's live, so you can lead us wherever we need to go.
So we had this house come up for sale, and it wasn't the best house in the best street. It was quite an average house, and David said, I don't know how we're going to sell this and who we're going to sell it to, but it's actually okay, but it wasn't a flash house. Anyway, a fellow rang up and he's from Sydney. He said he's coming up, and he said, do I go via Orange to Cowra? And we said, no. You've never been here before. You come up through Bathurst. And anyway, he got here, and David said, this is wasted time. But actually, he turned up. He got out of the car. He said, looked around. He said, this is just what I want. I'll buy it. Went down and put his money in the bank straight away. And we said, it's an investment. You want us to rent it out? And he said, no, I'm going to bring my wife and 3 children up, and they're going to be here before the end of January so we can start school. And so we went, wow, he'd never been to Cowra. He didn't know anything about us and didn't even know how to get here. And yet he moved David said to him, do you want to show your wife? And he said, no, it'll be fine. They'll be right. So he's moved up. He's a truck driver, truck owner, owns 3 trucks, and he runs his business all over New South Wales. So ideally, we're in the centre of a lot of roads and main roads. So he moved his business up here, and he moved his family as well without even knowing. So that is one story. I have plenty of those. I'm
sure you do, and I guess that's just an example of, the renewed look to our region from a decentralisation perspective, be it families, be it businesses, and it's great to see that people bringing their skills, bringing their expertise, and bringing their business acumen into our region. I guess one of the other things that you've had a long history with, Ruth, to run parallel with your business interests has been your role in local government and community organisations. What's one of the key lessons you've learned during that experience in public office?
Okay, so I've been on council since 2004, and I'm also on a lot of organisations and love that community involvement, really do. It's been one of the things I think we are trying to educate our community about is the old days of knocking on the councillor's door and saying, can you fix my road, or that pothole's bad. That doesn't happen anymore. You just have unfortunately, fortunately, under the regime and the governance and directions that we have to go now, we have to do a lot of planning, and we have to do planning 5 years in advance, 10 years in advance, 20 years in advance. I think any good business actually has to do that and should do that. And it's amazing how, if you have a plan, how you can tick off so many things. It's incredible how you have a bit of even a life plan. I mean, we have life plans, as well. We say this is what we want to do in the next 5 years, because if you do that, then you actually get a direction. And one of my big things is, if you keep your eye on the prize and go in one direction and don't get sidelined by looking at the opposition or looking at anyone else, then if you start looking sideways, you lose sight of where you want to go. So I think planning is a really big part of local government, and so I'm always saying to people, that's a great idea, fantastic. We're about to redo our pedestrian plan or our, so we really need to put that in the plan. You may get it next year or you may not get it for 3 years, but it's in the plan. So eventually we get these things done. And I think planning is such a big part of any business and the councils in particular.
Yeah, absolutely. I guess it sets the direction of where you're going and it gives people insights into kind of the vision of where their community or their business might be going. I'm sure there's been a lot of ups and downs in that, last 15 years or so on local council, but what are a couple of the things you're proud of ticking off during that period?
Oh, yes. Well, I've just helped complete with the help of the government, the adventure playground on top of the hill. Oh, nice. We received, 5 years ago, we started talking about an adventure playground, and I'm on the committee. It's just finished. It's one I can tick off. But it's 5 years ago we started talking about it. The state government came up with a grant. We were absolutely blown away because we had a plan, so we were able to get the money, and we've just completed the majority of it. There's still, of course, there's always going to be things we need to do, but it's a fantastic asset for the town, and it's so well used and well loved, and it's been great to be a part of it. So. That's one of the things that I've just been very pleased with doing. And we just upgraded the Civic Centre as well. I'm chairman of the reference group for the Civic Centre, and councils spent a lot of money on upgrading the Civic Centre. So now we can have movies all weekend, every weekend. We can have lots and lots of live shows and promoting those through the community. So I'm really pleased with that opportunity as well. But I've still got lots of plans, lots of things to do.
Always plenty of things to tick off, but I guess the delivery of that local amenity is just so important, especially when you're trying to attract and retain new members of the community, new businesses. So I appreciate why those projects are so important. One of the other roles that you play, as you said, you're actively involved in the communities of the Central West, is at the start of the year you were appointed the new chair of RDA Central West. I guess for our viewers, what drove your interest and passion in regional economic development?
So I'm really a big picture person, and I love a plan. So RDA suits what it has the same ideas and ideals and plans that I like to see. I like to see a plan for the whole region, and I like although I'm involved very locally, I really like to see a bigger picture. I've been involved in the regional planning panel for the Western region of New South Wales as well. So I was involved in that for 10 years. So I was travelling all over the Western New South Wales and adjudicating on projects worth more than $20,000 up to $5 million. So, I could see the potential for development, and economic development is such a big thing for the towns out west and our region. And I just feel that if I can help in any way to, guide the businesses and the governments and get them to work together, which is what the whole role, I believe, is getting governments and business to get together and produce something that's going to benefit the whole community, then that's where I'm very passionate about that.
Yeah, absolutely. We're very lucky to have expertise like yourself in the RDA network and in the organisation, but I think you're right, the collaboration in which local governments, industry and the Central West works together, I think that's really advantageous for our region, and I think separates us from a lot of other regions of New South Wales. Now, one of the other things that I just wanted to touch on this morning is, I guess, your passion for regional tourism. I know it's another one of your areas of focus that you've really driven in your local government and I guess your business backgrounds. But I guess what excites you about the Central West and Cowra from a tourism perspective? And what are some of your local events and attractions in this region?
Well, I think I've been involved in tourism for, nearly 40 years. We built a small motel when my children were little, and in the vineyards where we had vineyards and motels. So, and then I was chair of the Cara Tourism Corporation for 10 or 15 years. So I'm very involved in tourism, and I just believe that tourism just brings those outside dollars in that just generate more income and more economic activity in our community. It just makes such a difference when you get dollars from outside. We can produce all the grain we want, but we don't actually sell it in town either. So all our produce goes out of town. The money comes in, but a lot of it's not. But the money that's generated by tourists actually stays in the town and walks around and spend in all different areas. And I think having that economic boost by tourism is just so beneficial to our small towns and region.
Yeah, absolutely. And there's been a really renewed focus on the Cowra and the Central West from that domestic tourism market over the last 12 months. But if we had viewers or listeners tuning in this morning that might be thinking about coming out this way, what's one event that they need to pencil in their calendar to make sure they come out for in 2021?
Well, I mean, I'm chairman of the festival, which is happening at the end of this month, which is it's a great community event. We're having New Zealand as our guest nation. We're having a combined haka at the festival. Concert and carnival in the park. We're having a parade, the old-fashioned parade down the main street, which, every child in Cowra has been on a float at some time. It's a really good fun event and we all enjoy it. And if you stumble across it, if you're a tourist and you stumble across it, people go, wow, we didn't know this was happening. So it's a local event. It's a very local community event and most town participates in some form. So it's a great event. And
so the Cowra Festival.
Festival of International Understanding.
Festival of International Understanding later this month. We'll put the link up and the details up for that one on the Facebook page after this morning's chat. Make sure you pencil that one in your calendar for the end of the month because this will be a cracker, I'm sure. Now, one of the other things that I was just keen to touch on is there's been a lot of big projects announced and delivered in Cowra in recent times, but as a local advocate and a local councillor, what are some of the things you're focused on for 2021, advocating for your local community?
Okay, so I'm also on the Showground.
Another one of your hats.
Crown Land Manager. Last week we got a really big grant from the government to put in a undercover arena and a disabled amenities block, an easy accessible amenities block over at the Pony Club area at the Showground. So I was very excited about that because that gives us, I've been trying to get that grant for quite a while and it's just popped up and it was just terrific. So I didn't need to put the next application in.
And I guess Showgrounds, they're really a hub of activity for local communities, and I'm guessing Cowra's no different. When is the Cara Show? And
it's in October, and it's a very big event as well. So and they've been planning. The Show Society have been planning for that for a while. So we've upgraded the facilities at the Showground, which is really close to town, in town virtually. We've got 30 acres to play with and lots of stakeholders. So there's a lot of people that use the Showground, and as the land managers, we're really trying to upgrade all those facilities to make it more, just more user-friendly and also more attractive for everybody.
Absolutely, and I guess, the local show is the heartbeat of every regional community, and Cowra is no exception, and I guess just giving that fantastic resource there and improving that amenity there for the Showgrounds will be great for all the users. Now, we're going to ask you our Fast Five, Ruth. This is where we get to know a little bit more about you. Best local coffee shop in Cowra or your go-to for a coffee? Now, you'd have to walk these streets after this morning's chat, so it's a loaded question.
Well, my two favourite spots are the 23 Kendall Street shop, the Kendall Street Coffee House, and the Breakout Brasserie for go-to from here. Pretty easy.
Yeah, look, I've partaken in both of those and can attest they're both pretty good. So, favourite book or movie?
Well, that's a difficult one because I read a lot of books in my not so spare time. But I'm just saying my favourite author is probably Anita Shreve and Isabella Lende, and I've got lots. But yeah, it's hard to pick one particular one.
Now it's just about the weekend. If someone was an unexpected guest who just knocked on your door on a Friday night, what's your go-to meal in that situation?
Oh, rack of lamb.
Okay. Well, we are in Cowra, it goes without saying.
Absolutely, Cowra lamb. Rack of Cowra lamb is fantastic, and you can make it look unbelievably spectacular with very little effort. So, if I have somebody come and I can just stick rack of lamb in the oven and some potatoes and make a bit of vegetables. It's the go-to for us. Everybody loves lamb. Yeah,
can't go wrong. Hidden talent or hobby?
Oh, hidden talent. Oh, hobby, my garden. Okay. It's not hidden. It's quite an extensive garden, and I really spend a lot of time in it when I'm thinking about all sorts of things. It's a great space to think. So I spend a lot of time in the garden.
Okay. All right. No, look, a great way to keep healthy and give that kind of bit of therapeutic benefit, I guess, as you're doing a few jobs around the garden. Now, what's one of the great pieces of advice? I'm sure you've been, as I said at the top of the interview, you've done a lot of different businesses over the journey and you've had quite a diverse experience. But along that way, has somebody imparted on you just a little gem of wisdom that stuck with you through that whole journey?
Yeah, it's about well, somebody said to me once, I don't want to change. I want to change the world, but I'm really going to start with my little bit of it first. So I'm changing my little bit. I'm hopefully making it better for everybody else.
Yeah, actually, that's a really good bit of advice, I guess. And the Mayor of Orange did one of these interviews maybe 12 months ago, and he said, bite off a chunk of what take off, have a big chunk, but chew like buggery and have a go. And then he almost said, you eat an elephant with a spoon. So it's just kind of little bits at a time. And I think that's kind of the same advice. Now, it's been a challenging 12 months. We've overcome a lot of challenges and adversity, but what has inspired you or impressed you about the local Cowra community during that time?
I think it's about the fact that so many people have cared for others. We've had lots of organisations and people who have actually made an effort to contact other people who haven't been able to get out and do things. And I know there's been quite a few organisations who've set up particularly welfare, ringing people and visiting, knocking on their door. And I know it's been fantastic. And it's made it a lot better for people too, because they've had more opportunities to meet each other and actually care for each other. So I think, if anything, that's been a terrific part of Cara's heart. We've actually gone out and I know lots of organisations have made it extra effort to make sure their members or their neighbours or other people, and they've given them things. There's been massive amounts of donations of all sorts of things to people. So it's been a terrific, shown a great heart by Cara.
Yeah, absolutely. I guess that sense of community, and it's been probably one of those positive outcomes. And I think I've said it in this forum many times over in the last 12 months, it's been that sense of collaboration between organisations, between communities within the Central West that I think's held us in good stead. Now, Ruth, we're coming towards the end of this morning's chat. What is one of your predictions for the next 12 to 18 months for Cowra in the Central West?
Ooh, predictions. I don't know. Let's hope we win some football game or some major sporting event, because everyone's been so, tied up to home that we need to celebrate something big. That would be great. The fact that we're having the festival is terrific. It's got COVID safe. We've done all those things. So it would be great if we actually did something outside our safety. And, we all seem a bit cocooned. So it'd be nice to win something or have some major event that would put some sort of excitement to the town. I think we're all a bit sick of being slow and home and not keen to go places. So yeah, nice.
Look, I think it's starting to turn back. The pendulum swinging back the other way. And as you said, with the International Festival of Understanding later this month, you would have skipped the Cara Show last year. So to have that back on bigger and better later this year, I think that's fantastic. And there's plenty of good events on in and around Cowra and further afield at the moment. So make sure we encourage all our family and friends to get back into the Central West as much as possible. But Ruth, to finish off this morning, what's the easiest way for, interested locals to engage with you to learn more about what's happening at council or what's happening in a lot of those other community organisations that you're involved in? What's the easiest way they can do that?
Just contact me through council, probably is the best way to get me, or the Rain and Horn, but generally through council there.
You might also get a good property bargain as well. But look, we'll put up Ruth's council details up after this morning's chat. Send her an email, give her a bell, and Ruth, fantastic to have you on as a guest this morning. Fantastic to have you on as the new chair of RDA Central West, and great to learn more about your diverse history and experience in this region. And looking forward to, a big remainder of 2021. Thanks so much.
Yeah, great, Sam. Thanks.
And everyone else, have a great day and a good weekend, and we'll catch up same time next week.